I'm here because I am a roaring lion crying out righteousness. Magog, Russia is called Gog in the Bible, at Ezekiel chapter 38, verse 2. And in the book of Revelation, chapter 20, verse 8, Russia is determined to be Gog, and China is determined to be Magog. Now, these are the two that are going to make great war as there is a decline in the West. When I say West, I mean everything from Germany, Norway, Sweden, Finland, going back all the way over to California, Washington State. That part of the world is called the West. From Germany, Austria, going in the other direction is called the East. And then when you get to Jerusalem, you get to, Israel, you get to, to Jordan, you get to Saudi Arabia, it's called the Middle East. And then as you move further across Iran, Iraq, further into India, China, it's called the Far East. And then the Far East, the total Far East, is Japan and South Korea. So you got the West, which is where most of us inhabit, and you got the East, and then you got the Middle East and the Far East. And then, of course, the Middle East is also known as the Near East as well. It's called that on several occasions, depending on what school you studied in when you studied the understanding of the Middle East, whether it's called the Near East or the Middle East or whatever. But at any rate, Gog and Magog are now on the rise because of the decline in America. America has just gone absolutely sex pervert crazy. It is, probably the most private thing you want to do, and the most private thing that two people can do is sexual intercourse. I don't want to get all ugly here and get all down in the, in the X-rated weeds. That's not where I want to go, so don't run away from me. But sexual intercourse should be a private thing. It shouldn't be something talked about out in the streets or group sessions or what your preferences are or not. But America has it's almost unimaginable to think, and how, what's the word I'm looking for? How adamantly arrogant they are about if you disagree with LGBTQ+. So China is rising, and China did what I would agree with Senator Marco Rubio was, and if you will, I don't know if I want Ted Cruz or not, but that balloon flying over America last week was an act of war. And it was one thing if they had said, well, if they had said, well, it's a balloon that got loose. It got on the loose. It was something malfunction, and as a weather balloon, we're trying to check out what the weather is so we can tell the farmers almanac should be over in China, and it got on the loose. But we know now that there's several of those balloons floating around, one across Latin America, and then this one came in through the Aleutian Islands, which is where Sarah Palin said you could see Russia from her back door, if y'all remember that. And then came down across Montana. They could have shot that thing down, could have shot it down in Canada, could have shot it down in the Aleutian Islands, could have shot it down in Alaska. The moment they knew it was up there, they should have busted a cap on that bad boy. Shot it down over, people living up there in Alaska, where you, Juneau, Alaska, what else they got up there? Not very much else. Could have shot that thing down over Alaska. Biden was scared to shoot it down because he's scared. And I'm not accusing your president. We Biden your president. Well, maybe he is. I don't know. But he should have shot that thing down when it was over Alaska. Then it drifted into Montana. You can shoot it down there. This ain't got but 500 people living in the whole state. Montana is big as the state of North Carolina, Tennessee, and South Carolina together. And you only got like 500 people up there in Montana. Could have shot that thing down up there in Montana. Didn't do it. And this was an act of war. You can say what you want. You can talk about it was a mistake. It was this, that. Let me tell you something. This was a stone cold act of war against America by China. That's what that was. That's what that balloon was, and said it was gathering in. Because the other thing is that we all know that all these nations now have satellites up there in the sky peeping in on everybody. That's how you get your GPS. They ask you ever know you go to a website, you go to an app, right? And the first thing they ask you, do you want us to follow you wherever you go? You allow us to. They got some spaceship sitting 1,000 miles up in the sky. And little old you ain't nobody. Little old you, they're tracking you. They got the skills, the technology to track every last person on the planet. Can we follow you? I always say no, don't follow me nowhere. Can we report on you? No, I say no all the time. Anyway, so it was an act of war, and Biden blew it. Now, we got a whole lot worse stuff coming as well. As with China floats a balloon across. Man, you don't do that. You don't let no nation fly no balloon over your nation, man. What's wrong with you? Shoot the thing down. Well, we're scared it might hit some people on the ground. Listen. You could have shot it down over Alaska. Could have shot it down over Montana. Could have shot it down over Missouri. Yo, you ever go to Kansas? Ain't nothing out there in Kansas. Got Hayes, Kansas, something. Ain't nobody living out there in Kansas, bunch of cornfields. They could have, we got scientists, we should have scientists. When that thing was flying over Kansas, you got areas of Kansas, I do declare before God, you can drive 100 miles and not see a rabbit or a squirrel. All you can see is cornfield. Kansas, I'm telling you, Missouri too, same thing. They could have shot that thing down. Biden was scared. I don't know where he got permission, who gave him permission to finally shoot it down after it was over off the coast of South. But it was an act of war. So I would say to you that China has made a move. And all these nations, and it's all biblical. There's really nothing you can do. You can say what you want. You do this, that, and the other. But a lot of historians like to say that Rome fell not because, the nations north of Rome in Europe who came, miles to fight against Rome were stronger. But Rome had descended into a sex pot, to a cesspool of sex. And there was just no strength left in the Roman Empire, and therefore it fell. And, you have to, you can say what you want. You can, let me tell you something. If you're under 50 years of age, pardon me, you don't know nothing about nothing. If you're under 50 years of age, you have no idea. Your whole life has been on some sort of computer screen. You say, well, that's the best thing. Better than not being raised up like you, Pastor Manning, not knowing you had to actually have a road map, have a map to tell you how to get from New York to North Carolina. Okay, all right, so you want to say that? You can say it if you want, but I'm going to tell you something, that America is in deep, deep trouble. But the problem is that there's nothing she can do about it. Joe Biden made the blunder. I think the biggest blunder he made was taking people out of Afghanistan a couple of years ago and watching those people fall from those planes as they're trying to get on those planes, get out of Afghanistan. That was a major blunder. It's going to be used against it should he decide to run again in 2024. But this was an act of war by China. China did it, got away with it. China did it and got away with it. So I thought I would, but here the other thing is that there's really, he could have shot it down, fine. He should have shot it down, great. But this is Bible. A lot of people don't believe in the Bible no more. But Russia is Gog, and they're now fighting in Ukraine, and they've made war against Ukrainians, and Magog is China, and they are the rising power. The East will rise as the West goes into uber decline. And that's what's happening. That's my take on the event. Want to know anything more? Call me up and I'll try to inform you. Or just log on to the Manning Report every day and you'll get the best of everything. You'll get the truth, if nothing. But still, put that balloon back up there again. And I think that they said that it landed Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, where it finally came down. I think when America's F-22 planes went up there and did a pause about 60,000 feet up in the air, right? Went up about 50,000 feet up in the air, did a pause and pointed one of them bullets, one of those rockets that they got on the edge of those planes, and bust the cap on that balloon, and it came falling down. But they say that the tracking device underneath it was the size of 3 buses, city buses. So I just want to be accurate about what I can be accurate about. But this was a mistake. This was an act of war. But really, there's nothing Biden can do about it because it's biblically prophesied that Gog and Magog is going to make war. And me, I'm James David Manning. I'm the reporter. In addition to the fact, I'm the Lord's servant.